guys, Febbie here with the Homeland Ladies, and as I've already said, my name is Febbie. I'm 20. I'm at the University of Northampton studying law, and I volunteered in Tanzania for 3 months with these lovely ladies that will be posting other videos sooner rather than later. So why did I choose to volunteer? Well, basically one night I was pretty bored, procrastinating over an assignment, and I thought, summer is approaching, what am I going to do with my summer? Obviously the two options are go home and be lazy for a whole 3 months, or work for a whole 3 months, but that's a bit boring and I wanted to do something different. So I started searching things to do with my summer, and lo and behold, I ran across Rally International, well, ICS to be precise. I signed up, and before I knew it, I was jetting off to Tanzania to volunteer for 3 months. When I applied for ICS at first, I was hesitant, but then I thought about it, and like, we're quite privileged, especially living in this country, and why not give a little something back, especially knowing that I'll be going to Africa, where I'm from, #Team Malawi, and Tanzania is just close by, so why not go back home and help out just a little bit, even if it's just helping that one person. The process of applying was pretty simple. Fill out a form online and wait. I waited for a while, and I'm not gonna lie, I totally forgot that I applied for like ICS or whatnot. But when they got back to me, I was like, oh yeah, I applied to do something like this. And then it was just a case of training days, stuff like that. I mean, it did feel like a drag at times, like all these things that you had to attend, all these forms that you had to fill in and send to them. But then it did make sense in the end, because you can't just get up and go. They need to know a few things about you. So the process in general is not that bad. The training days are not even that long. It's an induction and then a weekend away somewhere, just meeting other volunteers and just getting you ready. So the process itself is really not that bad. Well, I sort of went in with quite, I would say, realistic expectations. Like, I know a few people went into this experience probably expecting to change the whole world, like just completely change the way Earth rotates and all that kind of thing. But I went expecting to help. I didn't really want to change the world, but for me, even helping one individual would have been enough, because that's a step forward in change, I guess. And when we got there, the first phase of the program was mainly teaching and stuff like that. I mean, at times we did feel a bit useless because we were partnered with Tanzanian volunteers who obviously spoke Swahili, and our Swahili levels were not up to par, especially if you're going to be teaching. So we felt useless in the fact that we couldn't really teach. But then what was really helpful was the fact that we were able to be more on the planning side, and that allowed the Tanzanian volunteers to sort of sit back while we were planning the lessons, planning the activities, and then when it came to it, they would be the ones teaching. So from that perspective, I looked at it as if, fair enough, we didn't do much teaching, but without our planning, the teaching wouldn't have happened. I know a lot of people felt as if because what they did was planned, they didn't really make a difference. But then with an experience like this, especially going to a different country where you don't necessarily speak their language, it's a case of what can I do that would help. And in our case, the British volunteers, what we could do was plan the lessons, do all the technical side of stuff, do all the surveys, correlate all the data. So as a team, we're quite helpful. But if you look, I think a lot of people tended to not look at the project as teamwork, just on an individual basis what they've done. But if you step back and look at it as a team, then the expectations you had were met, because you see what your team did as opposed to what you personally did. So I think for my expectations, they were actually met. The work that we were able to do at times even surpassed what I expected to be doing. For example, my group at one point, we started building stoves. Never built a stove in my life, but we built up to 8 stoves, and that changed someone's life. That means one less woman is inhaling smoke that could potentially be harmful for their lungs. So yeah, my expectations were met, and I think if you were planning to do something like this, you'd have to go in with a realistic expectation. Don't expect to change the world, but then understand that even changing one person's life is good enough, or enough. Yeah. Well, for me personally, I don't really find much in the cultural difference, especially being from Malawi, and the way Tanzania is, they're quite similar, like transportation, how people socialise, how the community get together and all that kind of thing. It's all pretty similar. But one thing that was quite different, which will be discussed probably in another video, but touching briefly on it, was sort of the treatment of women, especially coming from this country where we're pretty much on equal par. It was sort of different to see how gender roles are so specific, that if you're a woman, this is your gender role, if you're a man, this is your gender role. So that's probably the hardest cultural difference, especially when it came to integrating with our Tanzanian volunteers, especially in my group. Shout out Echo One. Especially in my group, that was one of the biggest issues that we faced, the integration between us volunteers from the UK side, from the Tanzanian side. Because of these specific gender roles, we found ourselves sort of fighting with each other quite regularly on which lane people should be taking. Obviously there were some people who had the view that ladies stay in your lane, but then sort of us girls from UK, let's put it, who have a voice usually, like in lectures where we would just say, no, I disagree with you. In this case, having these guys tell you this is your lane, stay in it, and then you retaliating, they sort of found that as rudeness in a way, and then just respecting their culture. So on a cultural basis, that was probably the biggest difference. Other than that, food was pretty much the same as I'm used to even here. We eat quite a lot of African food while we're here. Yeah, pretty much that was the only major cultural thing that I personally felt. I can't really pick just one, especially being there for such a long time. There was quite a few highlights. Obviously the first one being when our entrepreneurs, I haven't really said what I did while I was there, so I'll take this chance to do that now. So when we got to Tanzania, we spent a week in Morogoro training with our Tanzanian volunteers, getting to know each other, and then obviously we were put in our groups, which were referred to as echoes, and then each echo went to a different village in Tanzania, so sort of split up. My echo went to a village called Ndembela, which is in Tukuyu, which is in the Iringa region of Tanzania, and for the majority of the time we were teaching entrepreneurship to 18 to 35 year olds, mainly focusing on school dropouts who were sort of struggling to make a living, couldn't find jobs, so sort of giving them that chance to start their own business. So the program was mainly focused on teaching them skills that would enable them to start their own business, how for that business to be sustainable, so that it doesn't just start and then fail. And at the end of the program, we're offering them an opportunity to pitch to EADD, one of our Tanzanian counterparts, as well as Rally, the organisation that I went with, and another group. This is bad, I can't think of their name. Oh, Sacco, which is a loans company which we're working closely with, who would be providing the loans for our entrepreneurs. So that loan would enable them to start the business that they've been working towards. So that's pretty much what we did, but obviously in our spare time we didn't just sit around. We were taught at primary schools hygiene and raise awareness about the environment and environmental changes. And then for the rest of the community, we started building stoves and raising awareness about how much cooking on open fires has an effect on the women and their lungs. I mean, a lot of the women that were in the village had quite deep coughs, but obviously they didn't really understand where these deep coughs were coming from until we explained that the fact that they cook on an open fire on a daily basis, sometimes 3 times a day or more, was having an effect on their health. So that's what we sort of did generally for the community. But yeah, so that's what I did. And the highlight was, the entrepreneurs getting loans. So we were meant to get only 10 to get a loan, but because our entrepreneurs were so good, we managed to get 11 with a loan, which was really good, and I'm sure their businesses are starting to boom right about now. Another highlight was graduation. That was really fun. The atmosphere was great. The village leadership were invited, and I guess the village leadership just made us, or just emphasized the fact that what we'd done was actually quite good, because they were talking about how education is something that their children will never forget and all that kind of thing. So that was a really good day. Sort of lifted everyone's spirit when spirits were quite low at that point in the process. And another highlight, the people that were in my group, especially the UK volunteers, we got each other through. Like, trust me, without the UK volunteers that were in my group, I think there were times where I thought, okay, I just want to go home now. So in my group there was me, hi Jasmine, hi Ben, Becca, Abs, and Hannah. So they really got me through. They're another highlight. I made some really good friends in that group. And another highlight, obviously, the ladies that are on this channel. Like, I think we only got together for the reason that we're the coloured ladies from England who looked like the Tanzanians, so it probably confused the majority of Tanzania, because they would start at you with the Swahili, and then I'm just looking at them like, and then because I'm just looking at them, they're just thinking, okay, this girl is rude, so they start shouting at you in Swahili, and then you're still looking at them like, and then they sort of figure, okay, maybe she doesn't understand me. This is about 5 minutes into the shouting at me and telling me I'm a rude girl and all that kind of thing. But yeah, so we got together on that basis, and yeah, we formed a really good friendship, and this channel as well. So yeah. Oh, and another highlight, one more, I promise. Another highlight, me and my group, we went on accidentally went on a 30-mile walk. I've still got the bruises to prove it, 3 months later, but it was good. There was tears, there was blood, but looking back, I'll never do it again, but it was good. Would I recommend this to someone else? Yes, definitely. If not for the sort of joy you get from giving back a part of yourself to someone else, but for the things that you get out with it as well, because a lot of people think volunteering is just you giving, but with an experience like this, especially when you're away for so long, away from home for so long, you gain so much as well, especially when you're young and you can comprehend things a lot quicker. It's a really good experience. You make new friends that you on a regular basis, you make friends that you'd see at school and think, I could never be friends with someone like that. But on an experience like this where you're all in the same boat, you start speaking to people you'd never generally speak to, and you sort of tap into these different mind frames that you've never really spoken to, because you're so confined to your own social circle that all the ideas are the same, but you start meeting people who think a little differently to you, and that just elevates you as a person. As well as that, you make friends in a different country, and you think, okay, you go to the country and then you leave the friends there, but not really, especially now with social media. I'm still in contact with some of the people that I was away with, and it's just nice knowing that 3 months provided that, and then the growth within yourself as well, the skills that you learn. The one thing I learned for sure was patience, especially when you're trying to communicate in a language that's not yours, a language that you're learning day by day, but you need to communicate to get something, but there's no one else there to help you, but you have to get this thing across. The skills you learn within yourself as well are tremendous. I can't put it any better than that, and I would definitely do this again. Maybe in a different country to see if the experience would be different, but I'll definitely do something similar. But yeah, so that's my Tanzania experience. I hope you've liked watching this video. Stick around for more videos, and if you haven't yet, watch Michaela's videos that were posted a few days ago. One is on veganism, so if you're a vegan and you'd like to hear her experience on how she got on as a vegan in an African country where meat is a prerogative, then go ahead and watch that. And if you want to hear how Michaela's experience was, it was a lot different to mine, so same country, different experiences, you might want to compare the two. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.